You're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans. We're three friends who love the club, the game, and all things Bears. Well, boys, we're going to have a fairly quick intro. It's a bit of a depressing pod. It's one of the more. It's a sombre pod. And to be fair, we've not had loads of these in our career in the last 7 years. We've had some sombre pods, but we can categorically say we've never had to speak about a game where we shipped 94 points, have we?
Never.
So I think we're going to dispense with all our normal sort of what we've
pleasantries
been up to,
about the game,
pleasantries, all that sort of stuff, and maybe just sort of dive straight in. It's a really difficult one, isn't it? It's clearly an extremely disappointing result. And, you know, there's quite a lot of stuff all over the forums, a lot of fans very, very disappointed. It's one of those things where, you know, there's lots of theories about why things like that happen. They could be things that happen literally on the night, things that happen during the game, but obviously other questions may be asked about wider issues of investment, selection, game plan, structure, all those things. And I think at the end of the day, it's a complex mix of all of these things at any one time produces a result like that. But ultimately it was a shocking result. And I think, Lee, you were saying, you know, does this go beyond the classification of a shellacking?
Yeah, I mean, if listeners have got a kind of a word to describe that defeat on Friday night, then we'd love to hear it, because it's an upgrade on a shellacking, isn't it, for sure?
I mean, it's hard to know what is worse than a shellacking, to be honest.
Know.
A thumping doesn't sound quite as bad.
No, that sounds that's too nice.
I mean, it's like the question is like, I mean, if you look at it the other way,
is it? What about an acid bathing?
Yeah, it could be that. Yeah. I mean, at least we're still alive after it, just about.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
But I mean, it's like they say that, like, what's lower than a nadir? It's like, I mean, that's the other way of looking at Friday as well, isn't it? Like, what's lower than... I mean, 100 points would have been just a tiny bit lower. But
Pete, you're a teacher. What's the lowest GCSE classification you can actually get?
Well, I mean, we don't talk about that at our school. But actually talking about, if you want to go geography as a metaphor, the Mariana Trench, the lowest point, you know, in the ocean. It's like the deepest... there were times where I felt it's something like there? 10 kilometres down.
So that was our Mariana Trench moment.
It was our Mariana Trench moment. It was Challenger 2 or whatever. It got to the bottom and then never came back again. So
records were set.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope we do come back, because we even though the season might be over, I think we'd all agree, we have got a big game, haven't we, against
we have.
Yeah.
That mob that we don't like to mention.
Yeah,
coming up soon.
We're going to mention that maybe, in a bit, because that is obviously what we do. Is we talk about the game that's gone, we talk about the game that's going to come, and then maybe some other things. Right.
Some
what
positives
I thought we'd do
somewhere.
I thought we'd just start, actually, for once. We'll start at the top, and you know, obviously Pat fronted up after the game, as you'd expect, and he kind of did an interview on TNT straight away, and then he did an interview a bit later on. I think John Evely must have recorded it, or someone recorded him, and it was up on the sort of Bristol Live Facebook page, because they do have the post-match sort of press conferences afterwards. And I mean, I think it's a combination of two, but basically Pat said, firstly, well done Saints, they were on fire. They made the most of every opportunity, turnovers, yellow cards, and they played really well. Well, we obviously couldn't stop it. It was one of those nights, and certainly in rugby terms, that was one of the hardest ones. But in life terms, there are a lot of tougher things I faced. I think you've got to give context to where we're at and the challenges that we faced, and we've adapted really well. Obviously, it's embarrassing and disappointing, but it's how you deal with it. Is it the worst thing in the world that's happened to us? Of course it's not. For us to get back together and go on, I want to apologise to all the fans. We're obviously disappointed. And then asked if it ended Bears' playoff hopes, he said, I'd say so. It was Saints' night, obviously, and we have to get back, dust ourselves off. And it's about, when you get kicked down, it's about what you do afterwards. And then Fitz posted on X, Twitter, said, it's my toughest day as a professional. No excuses from our side. We know how much work there is to be done. Thank you to our loyal supporters. And I've got to say, actually, Fitz, I felt really sorry for him, because he, you know, he had a tough time, didn't he, with the ref?
Yeah.
But he just did not stop trying his hardest. Yeah. And you know, there aren't a lot of positives.
Well, no, let's get to the meat. So, in terms of life scenarios going on, yeah, it's a result. in a rugby match at the end of the day. I think we all know there is a lot more going on in the world to worry about and to ponder over. We're not going to mention any players because we don't want to do that, because we know every single time they go out on the pitch, they always give 100%. There's no one that doesn't put the blood, sweat, and tears into that game. Like you've said, Pete, in the commentary, we've got a number of issues, I think, going on at the club. And ultimately, I think I want to start by saying just how well Saints did play, because they were outstanding. They were quite simply unplayable at times. And I think really it's one of those games, I think the players know that it was an awful day at the office. And, the three of us sat around this table, no matter how much we'd say, we can't say any more than they already know in that dressing room. So I think it's one of those, to be honest, I think the season was gone last week with the defeat to Sarries anyway, personally.
Fair play, yeah.
And, I think it was just one of those days that I hope we never, ever revisit again.
Well, yeah. What do you think, Miles?
I mean, agreed. I guess the caveat, and we chatted about this before the pod, that watching sport on your evening off and the weekend is our fans' release almost from life, isn't it? It's what we enjoy doing. Gets our minds out of work, etc. And to watch a performance like that was just like going back to work on Monday morning. It was a bit like...
It was.
It wasn't it? It was
let's hope your manager's not listening, though,
I am
Miles.
the manager.
Oh, yeah,
so...
of course. Yeah. Let's hope yeah.
That's what Miles is staffing on a Monday morning.
Touché. But I absolutely agree. There is no people who will think worse. Well, that's fine. I'm not going to put this, but the performance was not great, and the players will be beating themselves up. We as listeners, as fans, and as podcasters, we cannot imagine how bad they must have felt at the end of Friday night. They put their bodies on the line week in, week out, and undeniably, most played the best they could, no disrespect. But Saints were absolutely on fire. They obviously got a bit of a shellacking the week before against Leicester, and they came back and absolutely proved to the whole of the Premiership that they are title contenders. And we were just unfortunate to be the team that faced them that night. And I don't think any team would have beaten Saints, but that scoreline, you're right, it's a nightmare. But no one would want to face that.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I think any result like that, there is a multitude of factors that lead to that in that particular time and space that they scored 94 points. There are background situation factors, and we've discussed these on and off, injuries, the fact that maybe the small squad means some of our players have played a lot of games. The fact we're missing Rubiolo and Mata, you could make an argument that there are two biggest players, not only in ball carrying, but in terms of slowing down the opposition. That's clearly some sort of factor. And although we've got the next man up strategy, if you haven't got someone absolutely equivalent of someone, then it's not going to be the same. There's issues with what happens on the pitch at any one time, the nature of the game, the crowd baying for our blood, the momentum shifts, and how players and teams and deal with that sort of thing in almost instantaneous moments. And sometimes it's down to decisions, and it's down to decisions from everyone. It's down to decisions from the referee. I mean, again, it's not, we didn't lose that game because of Luke Pearce, but you could say that the first 20 minutes, it was a very much a kind of, they score, we score, they score, we score. And it was kind of going that way, and you're thinking, oh, this is a bit loose, but we've got a chance here because we are a good attacking side. And then we had the yellow card for Ravovo, and that changed everything, really. We lost, I think we conceded 21 points. And in that sense, I think Saints just realised that they had us, and then we did lose we lost all sense of defensive structure, it seemed. And my point is that doesn't, just because you go down to 14 doesn't necessarily mean you should do that. And other teams and ourselves, sometimes you can live with a man down, and that's when I start thinking, like, what is the decision making like going on that when that happens?
I mean, there is some fundamental things. I mean, Pete, you said pre-pod. I mean, there's things like line-outs. You go to the front of the line-out, don't you? Keep the ball with the forwards. You know, you slow the clock down.
There wasn't.
I was surprised we didn't do any of that. I think we went to the back, didn't we, at one stage, and
there was one line out. We got a penalty. So whenever you win a penalty when you're 14, 14 against 15, that's gold dust. It's like we've got possession back for free, and then we'll keep possession. And then so we kicked halfway, and I think they'd already scored a try or two by then. But even then, you think, okay, you still got time to slow this down. And we went for a risky line out, lost possession, and they scored from it. And then I'm thinking, but if we were kind of in between halfway, 22, easy catch, just drive for a little bit, maybe even put a box kick up into the 22. What's the worst could happen? We get a mark, they get a mark, they have to then kick possession back. We get it back, and it's taken 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. And I just think that's not why we got shipped down to points, but it's a kind of, maybe it's a mindset that we haven't really practiced enough. I don't know. We don't know what goes on in coaching, but they must talk about scenarios like what happens when you go down to 14 and you are 3 tries to 1 down. What do you do?
In each position, it surely is something that's coached.
And
I mean,
it has to be.
Do you think we were also a little bit naive, which was surprising from Saracens last week, because we were terrible in the air, weren't we? Or were they good? We just did the same this week. I mean, the restarts. Did you see
there was a couple of bad restarts?
Did you see any clean restarts?
That thing, I thought we'd put that together.
Yeah,
I thought we'd read the story to that, tucked it up.
Interesting. I was watching.
Put it to bed like Bobblegate. We thought, didn't we?
But we haven't, have we?
No.
The Duchess was sat next to me asking, why are we sending up a jumper when we can't even catch it in the right position? And I said, I don't have the answer. But you're right. It would appear that once you would recoup, twice that's a disaster. But we kept doing it. And I don't know, it's a bit naivety. We just seemed absolutely terrible in the air again. And is that not a training ground coaching that should be, should mitigate those things?
I'm sure they do practice restarts, but I guess the thing is, it's one thing practicing restarts up at the HPC, and it's another thing practicing restarts when you've got 18,000 Saints fans.
Yeah, I agree, and 15 men breathing down your neck.
That's where you earn your crust a little bit, isn't it?
And,
but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting stat that I was. There was some guy, I should say, he's called Brett Ego on Twitter. He's called @Brett Rug Analyst, and I think he does quite a lot. And he put like a little visual together for the game. It's quite useful. It saved me going on to Prem Rugby and looking at it all. But they based some obvious ones. They got 4.9 points per entry. They had 19 entries. The 22 got 4.9 points on average. We had 10 entries, 3.3. They more line breaks than us. There was various optics that generally looked better for them. I mean, Henry Pollock had a good game. Like, whatever we think about him,
he was a good player.
He was a catalyst for that team, and he kind of toned down the idiot stuff that I think against Leicester he looked a bit of an idiot when he came on. And I reckon they had a word with him and said, mate, just do what you're good at, which is just playing good rugby. And he was good.
I mean, he's a young lad, and he's going to learn.
But I think he genuinely made a big difference to them. He was constant menace, and his stats were, 18 carries, 16 tackles, 2 turnovers. That's good level stats for any.
It is after Kenji ragged them around in the first few minutes as well.
We did try and wind him up a bit. But my point I was going to get to, that was all interesting, but it was the one that TNT said in the second half, quite near the end, and I don't quite know whether they got to 94 points, but it was when they'd scored a lot, and they basically said that there were the number of phases each team had in each other's 22, and Saints had 23 phases in the 22, and we'd had 24, but they'd scored nearly 90 points from those 23 phases,
and we scored 30,
which was suggesting that they were scoring like from distance.
Yeah, of course.
And of course we could see that. They did. But that then raises the question that doesn't, like you said this before, Lee, that's like schoolboy rugby.
It is.
Like when teams are scoring at will from distance, there's something going on. Either you've got a kid who's like 5 times the size of anyone else.
Give it to the big fella.
Which is kind of school. Or and it goes as back, your defence
Yeah.
is all over the shop.
Yeah.
And I think if there's one thing we're going to point out, which is fairly obvious,
we have
the
to.
defence, but it
lack of
wasn't just
yesterday.
tackling. It was that kind of structure. And the comms did talk about, they were the one, I mean, they're looking at it, they're more experts than
Yeah,
us.
of
So I'm only
course.
quoting what they were saying. And they were all saying it is that, we didn't seem to be communicating. We didn't seem to be getting back into position as quick as we might have done in other games. So
No, it was Frederick Nishi, total madness. That's what it was chaos. We didn't look like we...
Beyond chaos, you're right. It didn't look like the 9, the 10, the 11, anyone was communicating with anybody, wasn't it?
It's like we'd never met.
And you know that
little
it's
bit
been
like
a bad day in the office when, the legend that is Bernard Janssen van Rensburg, is struggling.
Quiet game.
Yeah.
That's a quiet game. And
My wife
that
didn't
doesn't
even
define
my
him.
wife didn't even know he was on the pitch
No.
for the first half, which
Because-
is unsurprising because we were insignificant.
But we can't say why that is. We
No.
could speculate and we could make
Well,
wild accusations,
it's
but I don't know.
It's definitely not because he's a bad player.
No,
we,
exactly.
we all know that.
It's not him. I mean, it's
So-
just it's a team thing.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of fans on the forums have said, it's defence. It's all defence coach, blah blah blah. It's not good enough. And I'm thinking, well, we defended quite well up to Christmas,
Yeah.
and clearly there was a problem. Now, there's two things I would say, and you can disagree with me if you want to. But the first thing is because of the injuries before Christmas, I think we went to a more pragmatic game plan, which meant that we weren't overemphasizing attack at the expense of defence. It was a more of a balanced kind of. We had no choice.
It was more
And that's-
pragmatic,
and that
wasn't
is
it?
proven by the fact we only had 5 try bonus points. We
Yeah.
didn't get many bonus
No,
points, so
no.
that suggests for reasons. But then as soon as we can't really complain on injuries. We got our players back, apart from perhaps Rubiolo and so on. But because we've got more of a squad, perhaps we've gone to our traditional Bears way, more attacking, which therefore is drawn away from the
any-
defensive side of things. And
any
it's
defence.
just the same old thing: is we can't do both of them at the same time without one or two key people. And that's my theory. And the other theory is that maybe we do just spend too much time practicing attack in training, and we just don't practice. It's like at cricket. There's no, I practice throwing the ball at the stumps for like loads of times. Nothing difficult, and actually they might have 10,000 touches of the ball in a passing, but do they do 10,000 tackles every week? I don't know.
But again, this all comes back to what we said right at the start of the season about having a small squad. We all said this is such a dangerous policy to have, and we sat down with Tom Tainton, and if you all remember rightly, he turned around and said, "We've got the youngsters coming through. We're feeling really confident," and I don't think we have just yet. I want to clarify. I do know that we've got some really promising youngsters ready to come through.
And at this point, can I interject and say I'm finally going to remember to mention to a guy, and I don't know who he is because you don't get their name, but somebody's emailed me through Podbean when they can get in touch, saying that we should mention the 18s.
Yes, yeah.
We did mention they won that
Yeah,
the
we
cup
did, yeah,
final,
yeah.
but the significance of that is that we have got some very good. Well, 3 of them got in the England as well, so
Yeah.
we should be like they are the Bears of the future. And whilst they're not going to change the narrative in the next season or two, and I promise, and I forgot to mention it, and then he got back in touch, which is rightly so. So you've made that as a really good point. And just to say, and I don't know who you are because your name doesn't come on the thing, but yes, that is something that is very important for us to mention. That if as long as we can develop those boys, and they do come through, and we should be positive about those, move on.
Yeah, and just just going with that kind of policy, I think was already kind of it worried all of us, didn't it? There was no getting around it. When the smallest squad in the Premiership, and I mean we have had some horrendous injuries, which I'm not going to sit here and deny. But for me, it's papering over cracks that are much bigger than what kind of comes to mind, the obvious, stating the obvious. And I feel like even though we've got that brilliant crop of youngsters, we're talking still a few years away before these guys will be stepping up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And those are a fair few years away. And, our catchment for academy as we know, is quite small. And I'm going to just, and a mate of mine at work, we met down at Chiefs, Exeter, didn't we, Chris Summers, and a point, made a great point to me this afternoon. And, this is not on the university. I don't think any Bristol supporter can realistically expect anything to finish more than mid-table with the budget that we currently have. And whether, we've speculated in the past, I'm sure many fans would be more vocal than us, that our investment from our, extremely generous benefactor Steve Lansdowne has been tightened for the last couple of years. And, on the other hand, you look at them down the road, their budget has got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in only 3 years, they've turned around to be the best team in the Prem. And we are just going the other way.
And I think it's fair to also comment on, put that into context. And a lot of fans have said this, is that, that's fine. That's fair enough. But that's not what we were kind of sold early on. Now, I know
I think that's the point.
And that's the difficult thing for fans. Like, we're irrational people because we go down, we follow the game, and we are irrational. We make stupid comments sometimes about things that we don't really mean to.
Of course we do.
At the end of the day, you kind of go back. Your thing is we go and support. We irrationally support a club because we want to get away from all of the sort of humdrum stuff of life.
Absolutely.
So you kind of latch on to things, and a lot of people are latching on to the fact that we were told that we would have won the Champions Cup by now. And I know COVID came along, and I know that Steve Lansdowne, but it's difficult to compute those things when you're right. The reality is we're just not good enough. I don't think to win a Prem at the moment.
Not at the moment.
No, I think you're right.
I mean, I think we're irrational because we love the club and we're supporters, and every supporter of any club in the whole country, whatever sport, has got that passion.
You want to win the league.
Yeah,
ultimately,
absolutely.
Any sport, you want to be the best, don't you? And let's not detract from. We were sold this. You cannot deny that, can we? We were sold this by Pat Lam and Tom Tainton, that we are a club going places and we want to win Champions Cup. And, thus far, that was an amazing win, the Challenge Cup. Let's not deny that. So that was our best moment of our fans' career, proud moment. But we were promised a little bit more. And thus far, some reason or not, investments, catchment area, we haven't achieved that, and that's desperately what we want as fans.
And I think what makes it worse is that them up the road have just done it in, like you say, 3 years, three short years.
Yeah.
But I'd also say that a club that I think we should doff our cap to is who shellacked us on Friday is Northampton Saints.
Absolutely.
Because they're not as rich as Bath, are they? But what they've got is a fantastic through flow of players. I mean, this is the irony of them. They're having to get rid of George Furbank, who's probably one of the best players, because they can't afford to keep him.
Yeah.
But the fact is, that's not necessarily a disaster for them, because they got Litchfield has come through and they've got McPartland. Now, we know in defence of Bristol, our academy had to be rebuilt from scratch pretty much. Yeah, and also we're getting screwed by the catchment area thing as well. But I would actually say I'd rather be a club like Northampton than I would than Bath in a way, because Northampton have kind of done it. They have shown it. You can kind of build it without throwing ridiculous money, but somewhere in between the two is where we want to get there fairly quickly, don't we? This is the problem.
And that was exactly, I just segued into a point I was going to make is how supporters, listeners feel about that, because if we were sold right, we've got a big job to do. When Pat came in, we've got a huge task here to turn this all around. If we were sold that, but we will get there and have faith, and we'll bring the youngsters through. It kind of would have felt a little bit easier, these defeats, because we're kind of, if we know we've got an end goal, which is bringing, right, in 5 years we're going to bring the youngsters through, and that's the way we're going to go. That's fine. People, it's not.
Yeah.
But we're not daft. We were sold we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we've done, apart from Miles said, which was the pinnacle, by the way, of our supporting career, the European Challenge Cup, we should just say, actually, if anyone got a bit confused last week, that was the pinnacle. The point that we were trying to get across was that was the only thing that Pat's delivered in the time of his contract so far. And it wasn't detrimental to any players that were on the pitch, because we appreciate everything that they do. And, pushing, Miles home in a pram was the pinnacle, I think, of my life, apart from my 2 children being born. And we appreciated those times. What we're saying is we want more of those times.
Oh,
I
desperate. Absolutely desperate.
It's a difficult thing, because every club, every fan, every club wants more of those things as well, don't they? And this is obviously the trouble with sport, is you can't guarantee.
No.
Unless you find a kind of way of doing it, like Saracens did.
Mm-hmm.
They found a way. Chiefs have found a way.
Like Bath did.
Bath are about
like
to
Saints
find a
did.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Saints
like Leicester
have found
did.
a way. Leicester. Oh yeah.
I mean, come on.
Hang on. But this should be a positive
you
thing,
mean
lads.
the top teams?
The positive thing is that if they can find a way, we can find a way
Yeah,
too. We can.
I know.
Because we've got the ingredients. We've got like the stadium. We've got a big city of
I
people who
know,
want
it's-
to. We have got some great players, but it's just how have we just? There's something missing in that little formula.
But you know what?
to get to the top.
It just
top
it-
table. We
it-
keep slipping off it.
It feels it feels the same being a City fan. I mean, for me, I've seen us go to back in the day playing teams like Brentford and Luton Town and we're so much bigger than clubs like that, but they've got to the pinnacle. They've got to the Premiership, right? And they might not be there now, but Bolton, teams like that, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, like Bristol, if we got our act together, we could be. I'm not saying we're not going to win the Premiership, but at least freaking get there. Do you know what I mean?
Just get in the league.
Yeah, just get there for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I don't know, I almost think there's not a lot more we can say. Really, it's like, what can we say? I think there's only, as Pat kind of said, the only thing you can do is do something in response to it, and it's it's like when I was playing cricket Saturday, bowled 8 overs. Bowled a full toss, bloke hit me for 4. It was a bad ball. I had to say it's all about the next ball.
You had to have a word with yourself.
I had a word with myself. It's about the next ball. Dropped it on good length. Guy, played and missed. Didn't get a wicket. But the point was, every time you bowl a bad ball in cricket, you've got to try and respond with a good one. So
I'm pretty sure that those boys will come out fighting for the
but
next
they've got.
game.
In a way, they've got a chance. In some bizarre, ridiculous, excruciating way. The best game to come after this game is the one that's coming.
Absolutely.
It could be but it is the best thing. It's like if we've obviously got Bath at home in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. They've got a bit of time to lick the wounds. They've got a bit of time to kind of analyse what went wrong, and then they've got a full week to just get up for that game. And that Dunny, Klosk, Genji, they will be leading the week, and they're going to be telling people, telling Luca, telling Tom Jordan, telling the guys that have only really Lewis Rees-Zammit, this is not just a game, boys. Yeah. No. This is a game we have to win. We always beat Bath in the Prem at Ashton Gate. We have to win it. Yeah. You have to literally, not literally die on the pitch, because that would be a bit distressing. But
you literally rip off heads and shit. Don't you?
You have to leave. And you know what? This made me think. McPartland got interviewed after the game, and he said, they were saying, he said, my first half was insane. He said, I've never run as fast as I've run. And he said, I don't know if you saw me, I was throwing up at one of the scrums.
Really?
So McPartland, we need people being sick.
I literally want their guts on the pitch.
And if they do that, I will drink 10 pints of bitter and shout the loudest to spur
pickled
them on
egg
as well.
And a pickled egg.
I will do my bit, and I will eat a pickled egg.
Would he go that far? You've actually said that now.
It's a Friday night.
This is going out live now.
If we win, it's a pickled egg moment.
But we've got to do our thing as well.
Yeah,
we've got to do our thing as well.
We will 100% be up.
We've got to drink more than our bodies are literally capable of.
If we're asking Fitzy, George,
we've got to put our bodies on the line.
Throw up on the pitch in order to win that game, we've also got to do the equivalent.
You're right.
Which is eating a pickled egg after 10 pints.
The
and
challenge.
Singing a lot.
I think we can do it. I do think we could do it together.
You're right. I should carry Pete from row
there's
21 to 30 on my back.
And
That's what we should expect.
There's a
from
lot of fans out there. Let's be brutal. There is a lot of fans out there.
Need a response.
Saying brutal things and really, really disappointed. But it's also it's about us fans having a cathartic moment as well, or cathartic, whatever you said.
Cathartic.
But because we can't like, I think the real time for postmortems is when the season's over. Because we've got an opportunity to, and actually, if we beat Bath and get a bonus point, we are still kind of in the hunt. Well, it can.
See, it's the hope. It gives the hope again. Me and Miles have signed that.
No,
we've got that out.
You know what? Actually,
there were too many.
We should all, and players alike, and us, just forget about that and just focus on the game.
You're right.
Just beat Bath.
The game.
Beat Bath.
Cannot be relying on other teams, and we just got to beat Bath, which is in our DNA.
We can do it. We can do it. We've done it before. They need to. Pat needs to be getting all those videos up of when we beat them and the fireworks, because we haven't played Bath at Ashton Gate for 2 years, have we? So,
no, of course not.
So in a way, it's kind of a good thing that's come out of a really bad thing. And it's the fact we've got this to come,
and we will. Because I know a lot of our listeners will be expecting us to be a bit more negative today, because I did say it would be a sombre pod, but actually the time we will dissect when the time's right at the end of the season, and we will kind of air our thoughts and opinions then.
I think we already have in some ways. I think we've said it's clearly it's too small a squad to win stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Our defence was all over the place, and we don't really know why. Is it we got the balance right? And there are I don't know. There are things. Obviously, the other thing fans are saying is that there's talk of change, but change is a very loose and nebulous subject. We don't know something, because if we don't get into the playoffs, then there has to be some sort of change. It's either a sort of change of the way we do things, or it's a change of different players, or it's a change of game. It's not any one thing or the other, but I don't think it's wrong of us to say that it can't be the same again next year.
No, of course not.
We can't really.
I do feel as well a big thing for me personally is I know Pat likes a lot of players that can play in a variety of positions, and I don't know if that's really that really works for us. I kind of feel like
not really worked this season, to be fair.
But this is a sort of thing we could speculate at the end of the season. But I do think that we're not saying, we're not pretending there's nothing wrong.
No.
But I just think I'd rather, like you rightly say, like we've got an opportunity. It's like
for
I said,
redemption.
I don't call, like at school when it's exam week, whatever. Everyone gets stressed out. It's like, I've got exams. And I say it's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity for you to show what you can do.
There we are.
Look at an exam as an opportunity rather than a negative, and then suddenly your mindset changes. So Bath at home.
Sorry, Pete. What are exams?
Well, yeah, you never even got yourself in a position to have that opportunity, mate.
I tell you, you'll be surprised.
Oh, I know.
No, I'm really joking.
It's driving exam,
and mate. And I just want to say that to Lee and to everyone else out there, is because I am work in the education business. Education and intelligence is not a piece of paper.
That's
right? And that
well
is
said.
very important.
Absolutely.
And it's a very important thing for people to know that I mean that.
Yeah. No, I was only jesting.
No, I know you are, but it's actually made me want to say a serious thing. There's a lot more, bit more to like rugby's a complicated game, isn't it? There's a lot of variables. It's not one thing or the other. It's a lot of things. Anyway, so I think
put it to bed.
We're not trying to be sort of skim over things, but we're also trying to say, look, what else can we do? But we have got an opportunity to bounce back.
We have to.
Yes.
And
we have to.
as the great Ian, what's his name?
Cricket?
Crystal Palace, football. Ian Dowie said, we've got to show some bounce back ability.
That's true.
I love it.
We've got to get touch tight to those boys.
Yeah.
When they come, we cannot let those boys run through us. We've got to be touch tight, and we've got to show bounce back ability. And
that's exactly what we have to do.
That's exactly what we've got to do.
We'll do that in 2 weeks' time. We've got to.
It's too. We can't really speculate on the team. We've just we've got to put our best 15 out. I think that's the one. It's got to be our best 15. We've got to go
week
hard
after week, injury aside.
And the people that are in the 23, you've got to say, look, you got when you come on, you've got to be equal to that best. That's all we can say, and they know their jobs, and they just got to get on with it.
Yeah,
and we'll do our best as best we can as kind of slightly passive rugby fans that only really cheer when something's going well. So, but we'll do our best as well, and we'll try and. I mean, it will be a busy night. I would have thought Bath fans they'll be coming in their droves because they'll be expecting a win. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. I would have thought Friday night at the gate, end of half term. Most people would have had a week off, maybe some of them, or most people might have spent some time with their kids and need a bit of an outlet, so they'll be there.
What a better place to come!
What a better place to come!
Absolutely.
After the gate, it'll be absolutely buzzing. It's the summer social, so
that'd be great. I mean, it's last home game of the season. I challenge anyone not to be there. And
I'm also going to challenge the club. I'm going to challenge Tom. It's almost like a swear word.
I don't call him Tom now. I call him Taintman.
The marketing side of the game. I want to see a really good lookalike.
I think so.
That night. I want to get one. It's time to get the best ever lookalike that we can get. I want to see lookalike Cam, and if the Atio is ram full of students, I don't mind Bongo Cam as long as they're doing it in the Atio, nowhere else.
And we might also add a bit of a plug that the following day is the last PWR women's home game of the season.
Great shout.
Bristol Bears women versus Exeter Chiefs. So get yourself...
Make a weekend of it.
If you can still stand on Saturday morning, pull yourself out of bed and get yourself up to Shaftesbury Park because that'll be a fantastic game too.
I would love to shout out to Claire who emailed me about this a while back to say, could I mention it? And we massively... do endorse it. It's also the Pink Day, so they're raising money for breast cancer as well. So it's a great charitable event. As you say, just continue the rugby. So get down Shaftesbury Park on the Saturday if you can. I might be playing cricket actually, but maybe I won't for once.
I'm going to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So massively right.
Obviously, I have no idea what I'm doing yet.
No, but I know. Pre-planning. What's that?
No one asked me anymore.
Well, they talk about heads up rugby, which we do endorse. Heads up rugby. Yeah. It's like heads up life, isn't it, for you?
It really is.
There's nothing wrong with that as long as you got a bit of structure.
I'm a free spirit.
Yeah,
you are.
I was just going to say. I mean, you were. I was going to suggest we had an outside chance of the playoffs, but I don't think I will. I did work it out. I mean, 2 games to go. We've got Bath
we would
at
need
home.
10 points, wouldn't we?
Yeah, so we got Bath at home, Sale away. We have to get 10 points of those. So let's say in some sort, it's possible. Crazy world, we get 10 points. Exeter got Tigers away. Now they need to lose that, but then they've got Sarries at home. They also need to lose that. They do. Because they are, so that would put us 5 points ahead of Chiefs. Sarries, however,
they would catch
we
us
obviously
up.
have said we need them to beat Exeter, so that would put them on 57. But
we don't want them to win too much. Is that what you're saying?
No, they've got Harlequins away. So Sarries, we need Exeter to lose both. Of course, one of those will be Sarries, and therefore we need Sarries to lose to Harlequins. And obviously they're beat. Now, if that happens and we got 10 points, we would end up on 60.
Yeah.
Sarries would be on 57 and Chiefs would be stuck on 55 where they are now. So it's mathematically possible.
Nothing else, just mathematically.
Says
boys,
the geography teacher.
Let's say we do get a bonus point victory against Bath, and let's say Exeter get beaten by Tigers, and let's say
the
Harlequins do beat Sarries. Sarries beat Harlequins then.
Sarries beat Harlequins or lose.
We'd need them to beat Harlequins because, they could lose both as well because then we don't. It doesn't matter. We just need one of those two because we don't want Chiefs to win any because they'll get to 60 points.
But it's weird because Quins have been doing funny things. They suddenly turn life around.
I don't want them.
Yeah, I
want them to beat Sarries because I want them to lose. I want them to lose to Sarries because I need Sarries to beat Exeter. That's the point. The point I'm trying to make is, if we did get to the last game and we still had a chance. And we got Sale away.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
What's facing us next, Pete?
I'm actually thinking.
Is there anything better?
Northampton Saints away again.
I'm actually,
how did that go?
And then we
get
Saints away in the semi. But I'm actually thinking. Then I might think actually maybe it's a bad thing. Anyway, we'll see. So
can I just say actually, I mean, working all that stuff outside. Personally, if we weren't going to make the top 4, I'd prefer Chiefs to get there personally because we've all got mates with Chiefs fans.
100%.
And so So
yeah.
if we already signed off and we can't make it, then
100%. And I
But
agree.
it's the annoying characteristic that salaries,
salaries.
Salarisons, you can just see the buggers doing it, can't you?
Yeah.
But you know what?
They've just got wins in their DNA, and it's just typical. They've failed an entire season. You know, come to Ashton Gate and give us a bit of a pummeling last week, and the buggers probably will climb to.
Do you know what though? Having said all of that stuff, I realise I just wasted 5 minutes of my life because I'm not 100% sure that any team that gets shit 94 points against
deserves
them
to
deserves
be there.
to be in the playoffs. It's a brutal thing to say,
Agreed.
but I think we need to not finish in the top 4 so that we
Because
have
that
this
really would be
proper-
double papering over cracks.
and
Yeah,
it would be.
That would be subsidence level cracks.
I mean, you're right. What would be the premise? What would we achieve? We'd get, are we going to,
But then again, if we did and then suddenly came good.
too little, too late. We should have thought about that at 7:44 on Friday
Suddenly
evening.
came good. Anyway, right, couple of things before we finish because Miles has got to get home.
Yeah.
We've mentioned the women's game. We've mentioned the Cubs. That was quite important.
Ticked off.
I've also realised I need to. I still haven't. There's a thing about the fans to 5K thing. I'm going to do that. And so, Grant, if you're listening, apologies, but I will reply to your email this week or tomorrow probably because I got a bit of time and do a bit about that because it was something I said we'd kind of back because it's a good thing to get old people fit. And actually, after playing bowling 8 overs, I could barely walk this morning. So I feel like I've really got to look at my fitness levels.
Yeah. Mate, I was down the nets and for 15 minutes and my arm was rogered the next day.
Actually, I just wanted to finish on one thing because I actually one issue that came out of Friday, which is not really to do with us, but it was the whole thing about the refs and the way they talk. Do you want a quick chat, Miles? You got 5 minutes? It was just that there was a lot of chat about Pierce seemed to be on one against us.
Yeah, I think this is a fair point.
And kind of was quite dismissive. And I was thinking, is that true? Because I think there's always more to just bold statements that are put out quite quickly on a game. So I watched the game and he, I mean, early on it seemed quite, a normal game. And then there was a situation, I think where we were pumping their line. It was in the first half and they thought they got a turnover. Then we got the ball. Then we went again. And then they were all the Saints players had their hands up, they all saying it, and then he gave a holding on penalty, and Fitz and Bats said something to him, but in his ear straight after, and then he immediately walked us 10 yards, and then strode off, and then they had a line out, and Harry Thacker obviously said, "What was that all about?" And he said, "I had 3 people screaming at me," and that obviously.
So just sorry to butt in. So Fitz and Bat spoke to him, and he had 3 people.
But this is what I'm saying, and it didn't. Well, then I replayed. No, this is my point.
Was he drinking with me?
No,
2 of the most placid people in our entire squad.
But this point is, I thought I'm going to check this out, so I rewound. I had it on tape, so I rewound to the situation, and I couldn't see 3. I could see Bats and Fitz, and I could see why they riled him because they kind of got in his ear quite as soon as it went, rather than waiting.
Yeah, it was early, wasn't it?
And then I thought, but the Saints players were all screaming for the penalty.
Cool, yeah.
Now I've got, and it obviously got into his mind that was the thing that got into his mind because he said to Thacker, I'm not, I don't need people screaming at me. But I was thinking, the Saints players were like screaming for the penalty, and they were screaming more than anything. And anyway, and then that kind of, I'm with Pierce because that is the one thing that is sacrosanct, and I know what he's trying to do. He was trying to maintain that tradition that it doesn't matter what you think, like you don't complain. You can talk to the ref as a captain, but you don't complain, and you don't, even if you don't mean it, you've got to. And I think Fitz, like I think he's the nicest guy. It's like, how can he's not what I would consider to be like you look at people like Farrell and you look at Toji, like always seem to be yapping with the refs, and I felt really, really sorry for Fitz. And then, then later on there was something else that happened, and then I think Pierce got it in his head that we were whinging and moaning, and I just thought and then he went straight for that yellow with Ravovo and that's what I didn't understand is that when, like the TMO, when there was something that happened when he didn't call something, and he was adamant that he'd seen an on-field try, and he was adamant he'd seen it. And then the TMO goes, we need to just check a few angles. And then in the end, it was. So I'm thinking, okay, so the TMO didn't believe he was adamant. So came in. But when it was the Rovovo one and Luke Pearce was adamant it was a yellow, where was the TMO to say, hang on a minute? Because he was happy to question his adamancy in the first one, but he didn't question the adamance in that one. So if Luke had a moment, like the whole, and I heard him, Fitz said to him, and that was it, he was very dismissive. Fitz said 2 hands, and he said, go away, what? And he was very dismissive to Fitz then. And I heard him say, 1 hand, 2 hands, it doesn't matter. So I was thinking, well, what is this bloody rule?
What?
And it turns out that it's in his perception, because Brian O'Driscoll was quite good at this, said that if he doesn't think Rovovo was actually genuinely making an attempt to catch the ball, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But when you looked at it, Rovovo had got himself in the position and the ball was fired at him.
Yeah.
Now, he put his hands up to try and catch it. Now, Drico said, to be fair to Rovovo, he couldn't do much more. You could have made an argument. Now, the point is, it might have been wrong, but you definitely could have had a look at it. And it didn't seem like the TMO was happy to step in there to say to Luke Pearce, have a quick look, because he went straight for the yellow. And that did kind of change a lot of the game.
Well, of course.
But my point is, like, was it a good reffing performance or was it a bad one? Because a lot of people were slagging Luke Pearce off. And I was thinking, he's still trying to maintain the traditions of the game.
And to be fair, I will stick up for Luke Pearce. I think he is one of the best referees.
I think so, yeah.
And, I absolutely get the points, but ultimately we were still never going to win that game.
This is my point. This is why I don't want to relate it to the game. I just wanted to make it a general point about reffing, because we've seen other refs not give yellow cards for what I would consider it's like the whole interaction between the ref and the TMO. And I mean, it isn't, again, we always say this, all we want is consistency as fans.
Yeah, he's one of the good guys, and you're right. I think he genuinely refs well.
I just genuinely, I've got a connection that I just feel like I'd love to have a chat with Luke Pearce about that, and not slag him off, really, but just say I'm really interested, because he's also having to react in the heat of the battle, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, there'll be an analysis
having
of
to
all
make decisions. And a lot of refs, a lot of the time, they say, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that." So you can kind of see why players get frustrated, because they almost admitting that they're missing stuff. But then as soon as a player doesn't quite right, and I think the thing about Fitz in the second half, Luke was quite short with him, and I said, "Mate, come on, this guy." That was
a bit rude.
I thought
putting his, the guy is the worst, and they said it on comms. This is one of the worst moments of his career. He's captain of a team that are shipping this many points, and you're being a little bit officious with him, and just give him at least the guy. Can you not see what he's doing, what he's trying to do?
Well, he's our captain, and he's within his rights to talk to the referee.
And I just thought even said that on comms. David Flatman was quite good about it. He said, on one hand, he said, Fitz, Luke Pearce has obviously said earlier on he doesn't like your tone. So Fitz has got to adapt. But then in the game, Flat said, but the other time, Pearce has got to understand this is like probably one of the worst moments of Fitz's career. He's having to be a captain and put his body on the line. So he was being quite balanced. And he was saying, but on the other hand, Luke Pearce has got to be a little bit wary of that. So it just made me think. I wasn't using it as an excuse. I don't think it was anything to it, but it was something maybe we, this whole issue of like refs and how they talk and the TMOs is quite an interesting one, I thought, and that was it. I'll leave it at that.
Fair point.
Point well made.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a bit of a long one, but there you go. Anyway, has anyone else got anything to finish off with?
There's one thing I want to just say, and we should have said it weeks ago.
Ooh, what's that?
But one of our friends actually, a good, a listener. A valued listener to the pod, Binsey, when we were having our big day out in Cardiff, he fell poorly, didn't he, with a heart attack?
We think it was a bit of a
heart attack,
heart issue. He's good. He's fine. Everyone's
fine. He's alive.
I just wanted to say, Binsey, from the three of us, and I do apologise that it's weeks late, but we know you're on the mend, and we just want to say we're all thinking of you, mate, and Dan was slagging you off in the barber shop the other day. No, I'm only joking. Get well soon, mate, and hope your recovery continues. And we're really looking forward to seeing you back down at the gate.
I would say, just to comment on the Dan thing, for those that don't know, Lee go to the same barbers on Coronation Road. Dan the barber, cash only, £9 for it. So but the funny thing is, Binsey goes there as well, and Dan has picked up on that. We have this sort of link between each, obviously quite different people.
Yeah.
And apparently Binsey comes in and he goes, Dan says to me, he can't say your name, Pete, without the word effing in front the whole time, like that. And that is just, I basically was laughing all the way through my haircut there. So
That's why you got a jagged haircut.
that
mate.
effing
I see
Pete,
that.
effing Pete that, effing Pete this.
Effing leaders as well. He says the same for me.
Definitely twisted my effing nipples in Cardiff.
Which actually, Binsey, if that did bring on the heart attack, then I do
sorry.
apologise in advance. But
Anyway, boys, we better move on. Right. Anyway, so hopefully everyone will get over it this week.
Get over it.
Try. There's not a lot we can say.
Not really.
You know, stay safe though. That's important.
Get down the gate. 2 weeks
and
time.
get down the gate in 2 weeks. And 1, 2, 3.
Up the Bears.